Hello friends, let us study the unit number 4, that is steam turbine of turbo machines. In this unit we are going to study steam nozzles, types and applications of steam nozzles, equation for velocity and mass flow rate of steam nozzles. There are numericals on steam nozzles, but in our syllabus we are not going to take numericals, only we are going to see the derivation of equation for velocity and mass flow rate. Then we are going to see the steam turbines, classification of steam turbines, construction details, compounding of steam turbines, what do you mean by compounding, velocity diagrams and analysis of impulse and reaction turbines. Okay, like hydraulic turbines, there were two important types of turbines we have seen: impulse hydraulic turbine or impulse water turbine and reaction water turbine. Similar to that, here also we are going to study impulse steam turbine and reaction steam turbine. Okay, what do you mean by single stage and multi-stage? In case of steam turbines, multi-staging is very important, or it is also called as a compounding. Then governing of steam turbines, and last, losses in steam turbine. So likewise, this is the structure of our steam turbines. Okay, so basically the steam nozzle, okay, it is used before steam turbines in a steam power plant. So if you have studied the steam power plant structure, then you might have studied that a general steam power plant consists of boiler, turbine, condenser and a feed pump. Okay, so in a boiler, steam is produced, that all of us know. This steam is expanded over a turbine to produce the work. Okay, and then it is sent to the condenser where it is condensed. Again it is converted into water, and that water is then lifted by the feed pump and it is supplied to the boiler. Okay, where again the cycle repeats. But the steam which is produced in the boiler, it is high pressure steam. Okay, and this high pressure steam we want to supply to the turbine. But the condition to supply this steam to the turbine is that it must be converted into the high velocity. Okay, high velocity, because the kinetic energy can be imparted on the blades of the turbine. Okay, instead of the pressure energy. Okay, so we can't throw directly the pressurized steam on the turbines. You have to convert that pressure into velocity. Okay, and to convert this pressurized steam into the kinetic energy, or to increase the velocity of steam, we are using the steam nozzles. Okay, so the steam nozzle is a very important component for steam turbine. Okay, before supplying the steam to the turbine blades, we have to supply it to the steam nozzles, where the pressurized steam coming out from the boiler is converted into high velocity steam. Okay, so that is the purpose of nozzle. So let us study the nozzle in detail. So the definition of nozzle: the steam nozzle is a passage of varying cross section by means of which a part of the enthalpy of steam is converted into kinetic energy as the steam expands from high pressure to lower pressure, as we have seen the definition. Therefore, a nozzle is a device designed to increase the velocity of steam, that you have studied already. Nozzle is used to increase the velocity of steam. Now, this is a steady flow device. Nozzle is a steady flow device. That means it is a open system and the flow taking place through the nozzle is a steady flow. So in the figure, if you see, there is a convergent divergent type of nozzle shown in the figure. Now in this case, our main aim is to increase the velocity. Our main aim is to increase the velocity. So here it is shown the initial velocity is V1 and final velocity is U2. Similarly, initial pressure is P1 and final pressure is P2. So how the velocity is increased? So pressure is decreased and velocity is increased. As per the energy principle, if you are decreasing one form of energy, other form of energy increases. So on account of pressure energy, you are increasing the velocity. Here the pressure is expressed in terms of enthalpy indirectly. Okay, so higher the pressure, higher is the enthalpy. So at point 1, you are having higher enthalpy or pressurized steam. So it is a superheated steam at point 1 which is coming out from the boiler. Then this steam is expanded in a nozzle, okay, and it is isentropic expansion. If you see, ideal expansion is the isentropic expansion, and when it is expanded in the nozzle, its velocity increases, okay, and the pressure decreases. So at point 2 you are getting less enthalpy, okay. So H1 minus H2 is the ideal case, okay, for the enthalpy. So if from first law of thermodynamics we know H1 plus V1 square by 2 is equal to H2 plus V2 square by 2. If you know steady flow energy equation, if you recall steady flow energy equation, it was Q, that is small q, plus H1 plus V1 square by 2 plus Z1, GZ1 is equal to W plus H2 plus V2 square by 2 plus GZ2. Okay, this was complete expression for steady flow energy equation. But here in nozzle we are assuming it as an isentropic flow. That means there is no heat flow. Okay, isentropic condition is nothing but adiabatic flow. So heat transfer is zero. Similarly, there is no work transfer. So in nozzle you are not doing any physical work. So the basic conditions for nozzle are Q and W are 0. That's why remaining parameters, and Z1 is equal to Z2. Reference is also same. So remaining parameters are H1 plus V1 square by 2 is equal to H2 plus V2 square by 2. If you rearrange this equation, it will become, what is our aim? Our aim is to increase the velocity. So our aim is to increase the velocity means V2. Okay, and to obtain the expression for V2, that is the exit velocity through the nozzle. So how will you obtain the expression for V2? So V2 square by 2 will be equal to H1 minus H2 plus V1 square by 2. Now this V1, which is the initial velocity, okay, which is coming out from the boiler, okay, so it is a very high pressurized steam at which is coming out from the boiler. So the velocity of the steam at the initial stage is very less compared to the final stage, because it is a highly pressurized. Where pressure is high, velocity is less. So V1 is very much less than V2. That's why many times V1 is also neglected. That's why V2 square by 2 will be equal to H1 minus H2, and then V2 will be equal to under root of 2 times H1 minus H2. So if you simplify, V2 is coming as a square root of 2 times H1 minus H2. So V1 is very much less than V2, so it is neglected. Where H1 minus H2 is the isentropic enthalpy drop across the nozzle. But now we want to obtain the expression for mass flow rate also. This is the exit velocity. Okay, mass flow rate we know it is rho AV. Okay, rho AV. So rho is density of steam, A is area, okay, of the nozzle at the exit condition, and V is the velocity. So velocity we have obtained. So we can obtain the expression for mass flow rate. To obtain the expression for mass flow rate, we must obtain H1 minus H2, okay, in terms of some pressure ratio, because we are measuring the pressure. Okay, so H1 minus H2 must be expressed in terms of some pressure. So we know from your thermodynamics basic, one of the TDS relations you have studied, TDS is equal to dH minus VdP. Okay, TDS is equal to dH minus VdP. This is a ideal gas equation. Okay, but here isentropic process ds is equal to 0. Therefore 0 is equal to dH minus VdP. So dH will be equal to VdP. So here dH means H1 minus H2 or H2 minus H1. So if you integrate dH over 1 to 2, that will be equal to integration of VdP. So it will be nothing but H2 minus H1 is equal to integration of VdP. But if you take H1 minus H2, then it will be negative of integration of VdP from 1 to 2. Assuming that the pressure and volume of steam during the expansion obey the law of Pv raised to n is equal to constant, where n is the isentropic index. Okay, means it is the polytropic process. Assuming this process as a polytropic process, and where n is actually the polytropic index, so we can say H1 minus H2 is equal to minus integration of VdP. Here we are going to replace V from this Pv raised to n is equal to constant. So if you see Pv raised to n is equal to constant, obtain the expression for V for here. So V will be equal to C upon P. V raised to n will be equal to C upon P. So V is equal to C raised to 1 by n upon P raised to 1 by n. So if you simplify it, it will be C raised to 1 by n into P raised to minus 1 by n. So integration of minus VdP is nothing but minus integration of 1 to 2, replace v by this term c raised to 1 by n into p raised to minus 1 by n into dp. So minus v dp, integration of v dp is equal to minus c raised to 1 by n, it is a constant, you can take outside the bracket, it is integration of 1 to 2 p raised to minus 1 by n into dp. Let us continue further, minus c raised to 1 by n inside the bracket. What is the integration of p raised to minus 1 by n? P raised to minus 1 by n plus 1 upon minus 1 by n plus 1. So it is nothing but p raised to 1 minus 1 by n upon 1 minus 1 by n from the limit 1 to 2. So it will be equal to, if you simplify this term, it will be n minus 1 upon n minus 1 upon n. So that n will go up. So it will become n upon n minus 1. So n upon n minus 1. What is c? C is nothing but your pv raised to n. So it is pv raised to n raised to 1 by n. Raised to 1 by n. So that will be equal to, or that will be multiplied by p raised to 1 minus 1 by n. Okay, that you can write as p2 raised to n minus 1 upon n minus p1 raised to n minus 1 upon n. And if you simplify it, you will get this minus VDP. The expression for minus VDP is nothing but H1 minus H2. So you can put H1 minus H2 is equal to integration of minus VDP, which we have obtained this relation, which is minus n upon n minus 1. Okay, if you simplify this, pv raised to n raised to 1 by n, so it will be p raised to 1 by n into v raised to n into 1 by n. So n will get cancelled. P raised to 1 by n into v. So into bracket p2 raised to n minus 1 upon n minus p1 raised to n minus 1 upon n. So it will be equal to, okay, if you take minus sign inside the bracket, it will become n upon n minus 1. Okay, so if you simplify this, p raised to 1 by n into v. Okay, so here you can, when you are taking it inside the bracket, okay, you can take this product, okay, this product as a p2 v2 for multiplying by p2, okay, and for p1 v1, okay, c is nothing but constant. So you can either write it as a p1 v1 raised to n, or you can write it as a p2 v2 raised to n. So if you write c as a p1 v1 raised to n for multiplying with p1 raised to n minus 1 upon n, and p2 v2 raised to n for multiplying with p2 raised to n minus 1 upon n, if you simplify it and take by multiplying by appropriately p2 v2, okay, and p1 v1 inside the bracket, after simplification you will get n upon n minus 1 into bracket p1 v1 minus p2 v2. Okay, so this is the expression for h1 minus h2. So h1 minus h2 is coming as n upon n minus 1 into p1 v1 minus p2 v2. And we know mass flow rate, it is equal to rho 2 a2 v2. So v2 is equal to square root of 2 into h1 minus h2. Putting the value of h1 minus h2 as n upon n minus 1 into bracket p1 v1 minus p2 v2. Okay, if you put that value, you will get m dot is equal to rho 2 a2 into bracket because v2 is nothing but square root of 2 times h1 minus h2. So into bracket square root of 2 times n upon n minus 1 into bracket p1 v1 minus p2 v2. p1 v1 minus p2 v2. So if you simplify again, so mass flow rate upon area, that will be equal to, if you take 1 by, okay, if you take again p1 v1 common from this, so it will become 1 minus p2 v2 upon p1 v1. And again if you supply, if you write p1 v1 pv raised to n is equal to constant, after simplification you will get that mass flow rate upon area is equal to square root of 2n upon n minus 1 p1 upon v1 inside the bracket p2 upon p1 raised to 2 by n minus p2 upon p1 raised to n plus 1 upon n. So this is the expression. If you make practice, you will get the answer. No problem about that. Only you have to apply the basic equations, okay, of ideal gas equations carefully, okay, and polytropic law. Okay, so this is the expression for mass flow rate. Okay, you have to remember m dot upon a2 is equal to square root of 2n upon n minus 1 into p1 upon v1 into bracket p2 upon p1 raised to 2 by n minus p2 upon p1 raised to n plus 1 upon n. Okay, now we want to find the expression for maximum mass flow rate. Okay, means what is the maximum mass flow rate that you can obtain. Okay, so for that we will use the condition of maxima. Okay, maxima, that is taking the derivative of this term with respect to some pressure ratio P2 by P1. That we will see in the next lecture. Okay. Thank you.